the one, the only Paula Week. Way to go, Paula. Something I could give a damn about in maybe 40 years, and I've been ready and willing and able to edit the story, cause there's so many people here to be so damn lonely. Can I get a connection? Can I get a connection? Billy.
Much for that introduction. I am honored to be here, and I'm kind of a crier, so I may get emotional occasionally, so I apologize for that ahead of time. But I'm truly honored to be here and to discuss some things with you. In fact, listening to Billy Salt's amazing. He said some things that I will probably echo and repeat, and then you'll hear some other things later, which kind of just tells you how important the things we're talking about are for you to listen to. Okay. I'm going to start off with a little story. On a bus in Ireland, an elderly woman sat in the back of the bus. She sat alone, and as the bus came to slowed down to her stop, she stood up and she slowly walked to the front of the bus. And then she worked her way down the stairs, stumbling, nearly falling. And the bus driver looked over and noticed that her shoes were untied. And he pointed it out to her, and she acknowledged. And she stood on the sidewalk and stood there, looking down at her shoes, and took a big sigh. And so the bus driver stopped the bus, he put it in park, he got up, he walked down the stairs, and he knelt down on the sidewalk in front of her, and he tied her shoes for her. This human connection that was created will never be lost on her. This is a true story. And I believe that the time that he took out of his job to serve a customer that was outside of the realm of what he normally does, this bus driver, again, was an important human connection for her in her life. You know, there are thousands of stories that we hear about each day, and you may have even been a part of it. And now more than ever, we need to hold on to the necessity that we have for human connection in our lives, in our businesses, in our world. We need people, and we need connection. That's my clicker. Brene Brown, she's one of my favorite researchers and authors about vulnerability and human emotions. I just love her. And she talks about how we can meet people where they're at. And I believe when reciprocity happens, when we meet people where they're at and they meet us, then there's this energy and this a synergy of a connection that happens between us. She says, being other-focused, using language in the service of connecting, practicing compassion, empathy, and non-judgment aren't fully in line with all the tenets of accompaniment, but are fully consistent with practicing the courage to walk alongside. And so while I discuss the topic of cultivating authentic human connections today and having the courage to walk alongside others, I want to maybe give you some nuggets of knowledge. The nuggets is our theme for today, apparently, and some core values for strong culture in human connection in your business and your organizations. I want to maybe offer you some ideas and some concepts for core values where you can show up for others. So here we are today. We're all gathered. We're seeking for human connection, right? That's what we're wired to do. It's in our DNA. We're not meant to be alone. Maybe not all the time. I'm sure there's some times that we need a little bit of quiet time. I know with 3 teenagers, I definitely need my quiet time. And time again, studies show that the importance of human and social connection. Did you know that the number one reason that people seek psychological counseling is because of depression, which is usually a result of loneliness and disconnection? In fact, in 2004, there was a study done where they found 25% of Americans said that they didn't have someone to talk to or to connect with or share their personal life with. That was in 2004. Can you imagine what that's like in 2023, post-pandemic? I mean, right now, it's important for us to recognize the need for human connection. And so how did we get here? And how as we as business leaders can change that, at least in our professional arenas? So I want to share with you why human connection is important to me, or where I believe it began for me. I grew up in the military. I am what they call a military brat. However, my father is retired, so now I'm just a brat. And so we would move from post to post every 2 to 3 years. And I found myself trying to make connections very quickly with people because I didn't know when the next move would be. And so I was the girl, and let me share a story with you. My freshman year, we were brand new. We moved to California. My father was learning Italian at DLI before we moved off to Italy. And freshman year is nerve-wracking, right? You're now a little fish in a big pond. And I was the new girl walking down the hallways, and most of the time, you see people, the new person, if you're familiar with military brats, trying to avoid eye contact and walking down the halls and nervous and not sure who to talk to. That wasn't me. I was actually the awkward girl who was staring you in the face and trying to make eye contact because I knew I needed to find my new best friend quickly. I only had a little bit of time with them. In fact, speaking of eye contact, little embarrassing moment. Who's had an embarrassing moment in their life? Right? Okay, I'm going to share with you mine. Some of those girls that took the bait of my eye contact and invited me to go watch the football team practice after school one day, I was obliged because the boy I liked was on the team. And so we went out to the bleachers, and I perched myself up on the side railing of the bleachers, probably in an effort to make eye contact with this boy, hoping that maybe he'd notice me. But I ended up losing my balance. And I fell, flipping my feet up in the air, twisting me around, and I fell into the bleachers, hitting my back along the way. That was embarrassing, but let me tell you what was more embarrassing. It gets better. True story. The first responders had to come because I was on school grounds, and they put me on a gurney and they strapped me down. Oh my goodness, they strapped me down really tight. And then as they carried me to the ambulance, literally 2 lines of students had began to form. And they carried me in the middle of that line of students as if I was the Queen of Sheba on my palanquin. And so I'm going, and this time I was not looking for eye contact. I was trying to avoid it at all costs. So anyway, embarrassing moment for me. So, and then as I grew into adulthood after being in the military and I got into the business industry, I realized that me learning to create those human connections quickly was important for me in the business industry because sometimes we only have a few moments to make a connection with somebody. So for the purpose of today's event, I'm focusing on human connections we make in the workplace. Could be with your coworkers, with your employees, with your customers, with general public, for example, in marketing. All right, culture and the human connection. Culture, or core values, Billy already talked about some of theirs, that I believe are what drive us to perform or not to perform in the workplace. This is what last year's summit was about, core values, and I love that, the culture and core values, and I want to echo it in relationship to the human connection, because I believe that ultimately creating or having those core values is what brings your authenticity to a connection. We as humans are wired to connect. It is in our brains, it's literally in our brains and the neural pathways to connect with other people. There were studies done in Romania in the orphanages in the 1980s and 90s where they were observing these orphans and how they were connecting with others and so forth. What they found, and I'll share why, was a result of lack of the ability to connect with others, and then mental health issues as a result. One man in particular, he wrote a book, his name's called Isidore Ruckel. He was left at an orphanage at the age of 3 after being abandoned at a hospital at 6 months old. And he tells his story where he was raised in these orphanages from 3 until 11. He was abused, he was neglected, he was abandoned. And oftentimes in the orphanages, you'll walk in and you'll see babies in their cribs crying, not being consoled, or children rocking back and forth because they had no one to connect with. And he talks about how, he was raised until he was 11 years old in the orphanages, and then he was adopted by an American family. And he talks about in his books and his podcasts how he wasn't able to connect with his new adopted parents until he became an adult. This research that was done, these studies, led researchers to perform EEGs on these children and found, which is what measures the brainwave activity, and found that their brainwave activity were low levels. And then they followed them as adults and did MRIs on their brains and found that the white and gray matter in their brains was significantly less, and so therefore their brains were smaller than the average brain. So if neglected and abandoned children who weren't taught by example to make a connection resulted in this and resulted in their mental health issues, what do you think happens to us as adults who don't make authentic human connections on a regular basis? You know, over time, our brains actually do suffer similar, maybe not as extreme, but similar results. Loneliness, depression, anxiety, all sorts of mental health issues. So I want to share a little bit more why I am passionate about human connections. I shared with you the reasons why I believe I got, like, human connection was important to me, because I was kind of raised that way, and it was ingrained in me. But I'm going to share with you why human connection, I'm passionate about it. 18 years ago, my husband and I found out that we weren't able to have children biologically. No amount of modern medicine would do anything for us. And having felt like I was called to adoption early on when I was younger for some reason, it was an easy decision for us to come to the conclusion that we would adopt to extend our family. And as mentioned in the opening, I now have 3 amazing children through adoption, 2 infant domestic adoptions and 1 international orphan adoption. Their stories are who they are and how we got them. That's who I am today. Yeah, I told you I'd cry. In life, I believe in what I like to call lightning strike moments. So a lightning bolt, when it strikes, in a split second, it literally changes the course of nature. For example, sand turning to glass. And I feel like in moments of our lives, when something strikes us, or a behavior change, or just something happens in our lives, it's what I like to call either divine intervention or a lightning strike moment. And I'm going to share with you an experience of one of my lightning strike moments that I had, and without his permission, a little bit of my husband's. In our first adoption experience, we were, I guess not my first, because we went through a little bit before this one, but our oldest daughter's adoption. We were on our way. It was a 2-hour drive. She had found us online, and she contacted us and wanted to meet with us. And so in adoption, what you call a first face-to-face is when you first meet a birth mother, a potential birth mother, or expectant mother. And we drove the 2 hours. We went to her house, which at the time was kind of odd. Usually you are very public meet up. But we drove to her house, and we knocked on the door. I mean, apprehension and butterflies and nervousness and what this connection was going to be like, or this impression that we would make. Anyway, we were invited into the house, and we sat on the couch next to them, to her parents who had answered the door. And slowly the children came in one at a time and greeted us. But then when she walked in, she was this young, beautiful 16-year-old girl, clearly pregnant, a week away from her due date. And I just wanted to run, and I wanted to hug her. I wanted to embrace her and let her know that I was just so grateful that she even wanted to meet with us. I was kind of desperate to be a mother at this time, and so I wanted to hug her. Obviously, she didn't give me that vibe, so I refrained. And we sat down, and we spent the next couple hours getting to know one another, talking, sharing our dreams and our life, of what we wanted to be as parents, and she shared what she wanted for her little baby girl. And it felt comfortable. It was warm. It was like a family reunion. I'm sitting down with her 4 siblings, 5 kids and parents. My husband's here. We sat down with them, and it just felt very comfortable for us. And then my lightning strike moment happened. her mother, who we now call Grandma, placed her hand on her daughter's belly, and she said, "This baby was grown in Hawaii." Now, I told you I grew up in the military, but what I didn't tell you is I was born in Hawaii while my dad was stationed there. So in that moment, I don't know if my mouth actually dropped to the floor, but it was this moment of, I knew that little girl was going to join our family. And that was my lightning strike moment. And then, I don't know when my husband's lightning strike moment happened, and he's never claimed to have a lightning strike moment. I just gave that to him. But when we got in the car, he looked at me and he said, "If she chooses us, we have to be open with this family. We can't take this baby away from her." And so that was the beginning of our open adoption journey, which then led me to understand the importance of human connection with anybody, loving all people. All right, so I am fascinated by the shift that modern society has created in our human connections. It's both fascinating, beautiful, and heartbreaking to me. You know, in a moment, we can actually connect with people all over the globe, all over the world, and we have instant gratification, and we're able to see other people's lives and really connect with them. But I feel like, unfortunately, we're missing some very key components in human connection, such as eye contact, such as touch, such as emotion, and connecting and feeling the emotions and the expressions on faces and that kind of stuff in an authentic human connection. In every relationship we have or we desire, there are things we must consider or live by, and I believe it starts with us. Find the best version of yourself so that then you can turn around and give it to others. You know, and I actually see this quite often in many of our speakers today and a lot of our business leaders, a lot of you that are here. I see the best selves, your best selves, and your stories come into play in your companies, in your organizations, in your businesses, and I love that. In fact, the volunteer who came up and did a handstand cartwheel for Carrie, that was just, that minute connection was just awesome. Where are you? You are awesome. I love that. Thank you. And I'm sure Carrie appreciated it because we're back. But in the book by Cody Bateman, The Power of Human Connection, he shares 5 secrets to relationship marketing, and I'm going to share one with you. Be intentional about relationships. You simply need to care about other human beings every single day of your life. That just has to become a part of you. It has to become a practice you do all the time, whether you're doing your business or not. The way it naturally flows into your business, that way it naturally flows into your business when you are doing your business. Okay, so it becomes a part of you. Be intentional. So what is it that the world needs? What do we need with human connection? We need to be heard, we need to be seen, and we need to be valued and respected. Whether in your home or at work or in your community, that's the fundamental desire and the essence of human connection. You know, and business leaders cultivate an environment of connection. So how are you being a business leader? How are you being an organizational leader? How are you facilitating this in your businesses? And what is human connection? All right, I kind of mentioned it already, but there are 3 questions, actually technically 6 questions, but 3 questions you should always ask yourself when you're trying to make a human connection or a connection with somebody. 1, am I seen? Am I valued? And am I heard? But more importantly, do I see you? Do I hear you? Am I listening? And do I value and do I respect you? Okay? Those are the 3 most important questions you should ask when creating connections. Business leaders take the time to connect with others without a hidden agenda. They are genuinely curious about those around them and initiate the conversations. And so in an article written by Mark Pena, he says, when leaders deliberately, I love this concept he shares, when leaders deliberately choose to build habits of human connection, these behaviors will spill over into the culture. And one of the easiest habits to implement is the art of checking in and then walking away. Sounds kind of interesting, because like you don't want to walk away in the middle of a conversation. But what he's saying is leaders will go up and ask, how are you? How's your job? How's your family? What's going on with you? How can I help? How can I help your job? And then walking away. Of course, after you've listened to the responses. But not a how are you? Hey, here's a list of jobs I need you to do today. This is what needs to get done today. There's a connection that's being created in that moment by really being curious and caring about people. Okay, here we go. So I have a 4-step method that I've created that I want to share with you. I'm hoping that you can take away, and this is where you take notes if you haven't already. But I call it the light method. My clicker's broken. Oh, I missed one. My clicker was really broken. Okay, go again. I'm sorry, guys. All right, love, invite, transform, and embrace. All right, step 1, love. If you don't know your why you do what you do, how are you ever going to get others to buy from you or be loyal to you? That's from Simon Sinek. Oh, there we go. So love actually holds 2 meanings for me in this concept, in this method that I've created. As a life coach, I teach people how to love themselves so that then they can love others and give to others. So as I mentioned earlier, find the best version of yourself so that you can then give it away to others and to your team and to your community. But the other side of the love coin is that when you're the way you know how to serve your customers best is to create authentic human connections, is loving what you do and knowing why you do it. Why did you start your business? Why are you in the job you're in today? Why are you doing what you do? Most people start a business because they're passionate about something, because they have a mission. They're on the mission to accomplish something and to improve the lives of others. And authentic businesses stay true to their mission and their passion behind it. It's the sincerity behind the mission that helps a business thrive. So, if you've lost sight of what you're doing, or you feel a little bit lost, it's time for a refresh. And I believe this is why Carrie has brought this to our community, because sometimes we need that refresh to understand our why and to tap into that. Or you need to get out, change jobs, and that's okay too. Michael Jr., who's a comedian who helps people walk in their passion, is what he says. He says, when you know your why, there we go. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking in your purpose. Man, I love that. He actually talks about this in a lot of things, but shares how to do that with, it's one of his presentations that is just amazing. So look him up, Michael Jr. Michael Jr. and Amazing Grace. Look that up. That's really awesome. Okay, I believe attitude is everything. Attitude is everything in loving what you do. Attitude of gratitude, attitude for change, attitude of grace. And then he also, Cody Bateman from The Power of Connection, Human Connection, says this: the things you share, things you share gratitude and appreciation for will grow. Appreciate your relationships and they will grow stronger. Appreciate your money and it will appreciate and grow. Appreciate life and life will appreciate you back. It's a simple but fundamental law. All right, step 2, invite. From her book, The Good People, Hannah Kent says, how hidden the heart, how frightened we are of being known, and yet how desperately we long for it. All right, another story. 14 years ago, a young girl placed her baby boy in my arms and gave me the gift of motherhood to our son. She chose a life for him unselfishly and trusted my husband and I to raise him and our family. As an adoptive mom, it's my job to ensure that I raise my children to understand and believe that they are exactly where they need to be. They belong in our family. They are connected to us. But it's also my job as an adoptive mom to ensure that they have a grasp of their nature, their biological roots, that they can hold on to that so that they can create a whole sense of identity. But in my effort to raise my son in this way, I learned something from his first mom in the power of hearing and seeing people. When he was younger, I would compare him to myself. I would say, oh, he's so cute, he looks like me. I mean, not that I'm saying, I'm cute, but he has my personality, and I was saying these things in an effort to really make sure that he knew that he belonged with us. She heard this, and it kind of upset her. She's like, wait a minute. He was mine first. I birthed him. How would he look like you? And so in a phone conversation with her, because this is what human connection looks like in open adoption, I said to her, Tess, not a day goes by that I don't see you in my son. Out of gratitude, I see you in him every day. I see you in his smile. I see you in his laugh because you have the same laugh. I see you in his eyes, and I'm grateful for that. And I will never take that for granted because he is my son because of you. But this was her way of telling her story and saying, I need to hear that I'm still a part of this boy's life. And so she needed to be heard. She needed to be seen, and she needed to be valued. And so I made sure that in that 10-minute phone conversation 14 years ago, that I made sure she understood that. And it solidified my whole outlook of what human connection is. People need to be heard and they need to be seen. They want to be heard and they want to be seen, and especially valued and respected. People's stories matter. And so spending the time to invite people to share their stories, their needs, their wants, their desires, that's when connections are made. Invite a safe space for others to share what their needs are. Invite them to create vulnerability in their stories. We as humans do what Dr. Emma Paula calls mirroring. We echo each other's behaviors, which is the basis of empathy. But when someone falls, our brains process it in a way that as if we had fallen ourselves. Our brains don't know the difference between empathy and personal physical pain. So when we begin to learn this mirroring behavior with other people, we create a way to invite them to share their story with us. Invite a safe space. I can't talk. My mouth is actually really dry. And guess what? Interaction time. So I'm going to play a game with you guys. And I want everyone to stand up, please. And actually, can I get a volunteer to come up and join me on stage to do it with me? Love it. Senate, you're on. Okay. Who knew that talking dries your mouth out so much?
Yes, it does.
Woo! Okay. This game's called Person to Person. Okay? And we're gonna keep this within comfortable boundaries. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out some instructions for you to participate in, some actions to perform with your partner. And then at the end, when we're done, it'll just be a few, I want you to look at your partner, and I want you to share 3 things about you that maybe they wouldn't know, and then swap, and you'll do the same thing. Okay, so here we go. Finger to finger. Touch fingers. Hand to hand. And if you don't feel comfortable with hand to hand, fist to fist. Whatever. We're good with this. We're good. All right, elbow to elbow. Hip to hip. Let's get a little personal. Back to back. All right, turn around. Nose to nose. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Unless you want to kiss them. Okay. Now share 3 things about you to your partner and then do the same with them. You go first.
I have 5 children. The youngest of which I adopted as well.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
Carrie my son.
That's right, yeah.
And my name is Bennett. I'm named after spring in northern Idaho. By Kenya.
Very cool. I have been on a couple of TV shows as extra. I did not marry my high school sweetheart, but I married my seven. And failed adoption. Disrupted failed adoption. I was the youngest and the last adoption. So, well, you call to it, you do it. Anyway, all right. Hang on 1 second. All right. Did everyone get a chance to connect? Okay. As a thank you for being my volunteer, I'm giving Senate a signed copy of my book. Look at that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senate. Thanks so much. Okay, you go ahead and sit down. So, how did that feel to physically connect and then emotionally connect? Now, the physical connection was just, light touching, nothing too much, I hope. But sometimes, just even a handshake or a hug or something that gives us that physical energy between people can really create an emotional space, but vulnerability comes into play. So how many of you felt vulnerable? A little bit? Yeah. Okay. Good. No. So when we invite this personal connection to be formed, our brains literally get what we call a dopamine hit. So there's 3 chemicals in your brain that my husband actually calls the happiness trifecta. Dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, right? Did I get that right? Okay. So when you experience this happiness trifecta from inviting others in, to share their stories and, as a crucial part, that is important in the human connection. A little over a year ago, I sold my husband and I sold our businesses, our fitness centers, and over the years I met thousands of people that came into the gym to better their health, to get stronger, for bodybuilding, whatever the reasons were, they came in, and some even for community. And actually, that's how I ran my businesses, was community was important. I wanted to create a safe space for people to connect while living a healthy lifestyle. And so it is suggested in the fitness industry that we are active at least 120 minutes a week, right? Which is about 20 minutes a day. Do you know what's not really suggested and talked about a lot? 20 minutes of social and human interaction a day. So if you need alone time and you're an introvert, that's okay. 20 minutes, that's all you need to connect with someone. I had a client that I was training in the club. We had very different, we were very different in many ways, in our hobbies, in our culture, in our faith, and all kinds of things, but we connected on many different levels I just loved working with her. She came to me very vulnerable because she was a rather petite woman and she had a job and a career where she was required to lift heavy things. And so she said, I need to build some strength. I need to be able to lift these heavy things because I don't want to have to ask, all my coworkers to do this stuff for me. And so her story was important to me in how we interacted and we connected in this trainer-client relationship. And this is what she said about her experience. My time with Paula had clearly showed visible results in my fitness and overall health. She was careful of my limitations, but motivated me to try things which I was hesitant of. It was the right mix of professional and personal experience for me. So I love how she said, and personal experience for me, because there was the connection that was there, and then that's when she actually progressed better, was when we were connecting on a very human level. So invite people in, invite them to share their stories, invite them to share their needs and their desires, so that you know how to show up as your best self and serve them better. All right, step 3. It worked. Transform. Now is the time to take action. Owning and loving your story, and then listening with a curious ear to others will lead you to then transform your relationships with others into offering your best self for others. Simon Sinek tells us why companies like Apple are so successful. It's because of their authenticity with their customers and the why they are offering the products. They connect with their customers on an honest playing field, why they believe their products are good for us or that can change our lives. They focus on not the what they have to offer and that they're good products, but the why they are good products. And so transactional versus transformational relationships. I'm going to talk about this in your transformation. How are you cultivating those relationships in your organizations and in your businesses? Transactional relationships, it's possible, it gets the job done, but it lacks heart, it lacks feeling and emotion, whereas transformational relationships are where we invest our hearts into what we are doing and into others and people we care about. Transformational leadership is where you have a vision and then you inspire others to follow that vision. It's motivation over control. Psychologist Ronald E. Riggio identifies 4 elements of a transformational leader. Wait a minute. That's later. I messed up, sorry. Go to the next one, please. Are we missing one? Go back to transform. I think it's on there. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Please? No, back. Oh my gosh, you guys are getting all the rest of it. It's like the story has been ended. You guys know the ending. It's all right. Yes, sorry. Okay. 4 things that this psychologist Ronald E. Riggio identifies 4 elements of transformational leadership. All right. Idealized influence, number 1. A leader holds, shares, and demonstrates core values and trust. So I think of this as leading by example. Be willing to do what you expect others to do. For example, cleaning toilets in the gym was not my favorite job, but I did it. I did it because I expected my staff to do it every day, sometimes twice a day. You guys know how that is. Gym bathrooms. Okay, number 2, inspirational motivation. A leader motivates workers by conveying confidence and a sense of purpose. So I think of this as recognizing what your team's strengths are and then tailor the job around those strengths. Allow them to shine and use their strengths to do a better job. That's a transformational leader. Individualized consideration, number 3. A leader is concerned with people's feelings and needs. Lead with kindness. Understand them and respect them. Intellectual stimulation. A leader provides opportunities for creativity and innovation and allows people to learn, grow, and try new things. So I consider this as allowing creative license to come in to the team. Allow people to come with their own ideas because they may have some great ideas, and this is teamwork. Transform your business and your job or your leadership style to be more connected environment where your core values are focused on being people-centered over profit-centered. That transformation starts with knowing your why first. We're running short on time, so I'm going to skip down to number 4. Embrace. Okay, I think I'm on track. All right, embrace. I love this word. It was one of my words for the year a while back. In fact, it's a key word in 2 of my businesses, in my photography and my life coaching business. I love it because we can take all the things that we have learned and all the steps ahead of us and combine them together to elevate ourselves in our businesses. We cannot control our surroundings or the outcome. What happens as a result of actions, it is what it is. And so embracing the outcome and owning the story allows us to find happiness in all facets of our life. As I mentioned, we cannot control the outcome of people's choices either. We can only control how we respond to that. And if we learn to respond with embracing, it is what it is, and embrace that, own the story, and then write the next chapter through your behaviors, your new behaviors that you've experienced, and I promise you'll find greater success in all things. Life is messy, it's complicated, and it can be ugly at times. There's no getting around that we all have to fight through difficult times. But fighting against it will only prolong the journey and make it hard to endure. So embrace it. Be curious. Ask why. Know your why and own it. Growth is uncomfortable, and you have to embrace the discomfort if you want to expand. Jonathan Majors. And this was said earlier. In fact, Alex, you stole my thunder a little bit. No, it's okay. I'm kidding. You may have heard that we are the average of our 5 closest friends. Right? That's what we said? So, who you embrace and surround yourself with will definitely and directly influence your behaviors as well. So at work, who you collectively connect with and engage with in the process of your learning and growth, that's your result. Embrace your strengths and then embrace their strengths. And then that can complement one another in these connections that you're making. Embrace the connections that teach you and support you, and then embrace how you can teach and support. Diverse opinions matter. I'm going to finish up here. And they reflect our reality, the world we live in and are connected to. So why not consider, learn them, and honor others up front before we act? All right, so how does this all apply to your human connection in business? As we go through these steps, love, invite, transform, and embrace, we're not only building on human connection, but learning more about how we ourselves are the players in those connections. Self-awareness of our beliefs and our behaviors is vital to accelerate and improve how we learn to put people first and people over profit. Embrace the human connections we create and work at work. We really are wired to connect. It's in our DNA. It's in our brains. We are really a reflection of our own environment that we create from our thoughts, our beliefs, and our choices. So, how and with whom you choose to connect can change the course of your success and your businesses. Thank you.